Hi, my name's Craig. I'm the Chief Instructor at Paddleboarders Beach. It's such a shame at the moment that we can't get out on the water. So I wanted to share with you a few of the tips we normally go through on one of our SUP taster sessions. So if you're lucky enough to have your kit at home, or if not, you can get creative with perhaps a chair and a broom. But either way, it's great to keep up the muscle memory. And as soon as this is all over, we're looking forward to seeing you all back on the beach. Today I'm going to be running through our SUP top tips for beginners. Normally every Sunday down at Paddleboarders Beach we'd run a SUP club just to get out on the water. Obviously at current times we won't be able to do that, and so I thought we could share these tips, keep everyone in shape for paddleboarding, so as soon as the lockdown is over we're all ready to get back out on the water. Hopefully over the weeks we're going to be doing a series of videos where we're going to get more technical, show some progression, so maybe focusing on paddle techniques, maybe how to plan a SUP tour. So please feel free to message us or comment on the video if there's anything else you'd like me to go through, or if you've got any questions about the video you're going to see. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is getting started. One thing we always want to be doing before we get out onto the water is making sure we have our leash on. So you'll find a couple of different types of leash. You'll have the coiled ones or just the long straight ones. Usually, depending on what you're doing, we'll decide what one you want to be using. My one is the coiled one, so this is better if you're going to be on flatter water, maybe going out touring, maybe even if you're racing. It just means that it gets out of your way, so you're not going to be tripping over it. It also means if the board falls away from you, it's not going to be too far, and in flat water it's not really a problem. The straight long ones are usually used for surfing, where again if you fall off, if the board moves away from you in the waves and on a stretchy one, if it then pings back, it's not going to be the best. So you want to be keeping it a bit further away with a straighter leash in waves and surf. Putting the leash on, there's a preference of going around to your ankle or your calf. I usually tend to put it around my calf, just above my calf, sorry. This just means that if I'm moving around on the board, the leash doesn't tend to get in my way or trip me up. It can also be a little bit easier to reach if I need to pull it off for whatever reason. If I need to suddenly get rid of it, it's right there. A lot of racers will do this because again, if they're doing step back turns, they'll just get the leash out of the way. More often than not, as you're learning, you have it around your ankle. Again, this is just a preference thing. It can mean if you fall off your board, it doesn't sort of pull strangely if it's around your calf. And sometimes if it's around your ankle, you can just sort of kick the board, pull it back to you when you're in the water a little bit easier. So the next thing when we're getting started is how to carry our board. Relatively simple, and the main thing you're really looking out for is the wind blowing your board around. Some beaches it can swirl around quite a lot. You think it'll be coming straight towards you, and it's spinning around behind you. It just means as you're carrying it, you've got this big wide surface that the wind's going to hit, and it'll just spin you around and smack into stuff. You just need to be wary of what's around you. One way I tend to find can be quite easy, or easier, as we're going towards the wind. If you lean into it a little bit, what you're doing is you're actually lifting that, reducing the surface area. The wind just passes it by a lot easier. You can try and aim it straight at the wind, but you'll probably find it'll just blow one way or the other and possibly hit someone. Just being careful of that. Okay, so when we're thinking of getting on the board, we just want to make sure that our weight is as evenly distributed as possible, and over the centre where the handle is. Try and have your paddle across the board. It can just help to spread your balance. And then on our knees, looking up, and then we're ready to get paddling. When we're holding our paddle, when we're on our knees, we want to hold it a lot lower down on the shaft. We're still trying to reach as far forward as we can, still trying to get the paddle shaft as vertical as it can be, and just trying to reach forward, and just like you normally would, just paddling on either side. The reason we hold it a lot lower is just it can be very awkward trying to get that paddle quite vertical. It just means you're more likely to be spinning in circles when you're on your knees. When we're actually going to be heading out onto the water, we just need to really be aware of the depth. Is your sort of main concern when you're starting. Main things that could happen if you head out onto the water, try and stand up and you're not in the right depth of water, it's just when you're likely to hurt your ankle. It's when injuries can occur. So be aware of the depth, try and head out a nice distance, stay on your knees for a little while, just get comfortable with your balance, get comfortable with paddling in a straight line. Definitely try a few turns just to make sure you can actually get back to your launch spot before you stand up. When you're then ready to stand up, just you can double check the depth with your paddle. It's always a good one. If you nearly lose it, it's probably deep enough. And then you're ready to stand up. Okay, so when you're ready to stand up and you've checked you've got enough depth of water, just in case you fall in, key things we're thinking about here are where we're positioning ourselves on the board and where we're going to be looking. So if you place your paddle across the board, you're going to get one foot, then the other. Keep looking up if you can, and as soon as you're standing, really try and get that paddle in the water, because it'll really help just as an extra sort of brace point, extra bit of balance. Should be as simple as that, but I'll go through a couple more points that could help. When you're on your knees, what can sometimes happen is you'll take that first step forward, and as you notice, if I now go through to standing up, I'm just a little bit further forward than my midpoint, than my good sort of balance point. So just be aware of that as you're standing. It might even be worth just shuffling back a little bit when you're on your knees, so when you do stand, your foot is now in the centre of the board. Another key thing, once you're up, really try and keep looking up at that horizon. If you start to look down, I can exaggerate this, but you're looking down, your feet, what they're doing, your shoulders start to come forwards, your centre of balance is off. And in most sports, especially most board sports, where you're looking is where you'll go. So if you're looking at the water, you're going to end up there. And then the last thing, as I said, really just try and get yourself doing a few small paddle strokes just to help with that balance. It'll just get you moving, add to that stability, and you should be on your way. Okay, so talking a bit more about balance, we've already covered a few things just by standing up. Already you're much more aware of your balance now. So as we are up and paddling, just making sure that our feet are nice and planted, nice and flat on the board. We've got a shoulder width sort of stance. Again, as I said before, just keep looking up, try and keep looking at the horizon or where you want to be going, not down the water or down what your feet are doing. What you can do, a nice little exercise, usually try and get the students to do once they're out in the water with us, is just rocking side to side, kind of getting a feel for the board. Sometimes it can just take that sort of fear away, that you're maybe just too locked up, too rigid. So give it a little wobble. I always say a good challenge is if you can get your feet wet while staying on the board, that's good overall. If you do feel like you're going to fall, a great way to stop that, some of you if you've done some kayaking you might know, you can slap that paddle, try and push the water away on the side you might be falling. As you slap it down, it just sort of almost pushes you back up, gives you that stability. Same as if you just do maybe just an aggressive paddle stroke on that side, again it can just keep you up on the board and keep you moving. It's a great way to deal with waves or chop on the water. I know if a wave's coming towards me, the last thing I want to be doing is not paddling and standing there and let the wave do what it wants. If I'm moving, if I'm paddling, you can deal with that a lot easier, and trying to head into it as well. Keep going at the waves, it can just really help your balance in that way. The last thing we're going to be talking about is safety. Obviously there's loads of aspects to this, just a few things we found can be helpful. First thing we'll look at is prone paddling. So this can help if it's maybe getting a little bit too windy and you're not too far from the shore. If you're getting down and laying down on the board, it just provides a lot less sort of surface area for wind to be blowing you around. And if you're not too confident paddling, just swimming can be a lot more efficient. So just lay the paddle so the blade's flat on the board and under your chest, relatively comfortably, and then just paddling surfer style. You probably won't be able to go for too long, but it just gets you back into the beach, back where you've come from nice and safely. If you do happen to fall off the board, a couple tips of sort of falling safely. Main thing is really just try and hold that paddle up and away from you as you fall. It can hurt quite badly if you manage to fall on the paddle, even just onto the water. So holding the paddle up and try and just fall as flat as possible, just like a starfish. It just means that if you have accidentally fallen into shallow water, you won't just suddenly hit the bottom and then that's when you hurt your legs, your ankles. So definitely don't, if you think you're going to fall, don't just jump and pencil dive, because you don't know really how deep the water will be. So falling flat, paddle in the air, should be fine. If you do fall off and you're in the water, this is obviously where the leash comes into effect. We would always recommend, we always wear buoyancy aids on our lessons. So you have this nice big floaty thing on your chest anyway, so you can just lay there, have a good time, you'll be floating around. But the main thing, safety thing in this leash is even if I fall off, I'm still attached to this massive, floaty, effectively a life preserver in the water, and it's not going to go anywhere because I'm attached to it. So I can just kick my leg, just swim over to it, grab hold, and I can have a rest before I attempt to get back on the board. Final thing, last safety tip. As we're heading back into the beach, we're getting back to where we launched from. We don't want to be ploughing forward into the beach. We've sort of mastered our paddle strokes from the time we've been out. Going full speed. If you do that straight into the beach, what's probably going to happen is your board will stop, you will not. Everyone on the beach might enjoy that, but you'll go flying forward. So when you're maybe 10, 20 metres from the beach, or when you know that it's starting to get shallow, always hop back down onto your knees. You can hold the paddle a lot lower and just paddle those nice gentle last few strokes back in. Even if you go relatively fast into the beach, it'll just be a little bump, you'll be fine. No hurt legs and no embarrassing moments then. So to recap, when you're heading out on the water, just make sure you always are wearing your leash. As you're starting, if you get comfortable just paddling and turning on your knees before you attempt to stand. And when you do stand, just check your feet position, make sure it's not too far forward, too far back. As you're standing up, make sure you keep looking up, and when you are standing, stay looking where you want to be going. As if you look down, you will fall down. If you do find your balance is going, you can always use your paddle as a support just to keep you upright. So you can try a few balance practice exercises just to keep your fitness up. Try the tree pose, try standing on one foot. Once you've mastered that, try doing that with your eyes closed. It makes it much harder. If you have any questions about the video, please email us or comment below, and then we'll try and get back to you. Thanks.